Welcome to our LanguageCert International ESOL exams. Today, we'll be sharing with you tips that should help you prepare your learners for their C1 and C2 level spoken exams. First of all, a brief reminder of the key features and samples of the C1 and C2 level spoken exams. Candidates are assessed individually, and the spoken exam for both levels consists of 4 parts: giving personal information, communicating in everyday situations, exchanging information to perform a task, and speaking about a selected topic. The pass mark is 50%, and the overall duration of the C1 spoken exam is 15 minutes and 17 minutes for C2 level candidates. What is assessed is the candidate's ability to use language based on practical experience, everyday English. For both levels, Part 1 aims to initially set candidates at ease and elicit personal and everyday information. Candidates will be asked up to 5 questions. Questions will be given under different topic headings. Part 1 lasts 3 minutes for C1 level candidates and 4 minutes for C2 level candidates. Part 2 requires both C1 and C2 level candidates to take part in a situational role play. The aim of this task is for candidates to use functional language in a range of real-life, everyday situations. They are presented with 2 or 3 situations, and both the interlocutor and candidates need to produce up to 2 turns each. Candidates are required to respond to and initiate interactions. The duration of Part 2 is 3 minutes for C1 level candidates and 4 minutes for C2 level candidates. In Part 3, C1 and C2 level candidates and the interlocutor exchange information in order to perform a communicative task. The task takes the form of a discussion or negotiation based on written prompts. The duration of Part 3 is 4 minutes for both C1 and C2 level candidates. Part 4 of the spoken exam aims at assessing the candidate's ability to speak in depth on a selected topic with minimum participation by the interlocutor. Candidates are given a topic and asked to prepare a response in half a minute. C1 level candidate, talk about it for 2 minutes, and C2 level candidates, talk about it for 3 minutes. A few related follow-up questions may conclude the exam. The duration of this 4th part is 5 minutes for both levels. And now a few tips for teachers that should prove useful. As regards to Part 1, for both C1 and C2 levels, remember the aim is to assess the candidate's ability to share personal information, ideas and opinions on a range of topics. First of all, ask learners to listen carefully to the interlocutor's questions and inform them they can ask him or her to repeat a question in case they have not understood it. Reassure them they will not be penalized for it. They cannot ask the interlocutor to paraphrase or translate the question, though. Clarify there will be up to 5 questions, each of them related to a different topic. Remind them they should try to produce complete answers and be as spontaneous as they can. Warn them to avoid rehearsed speech when asked expected questions, or else they will not sound natural. Part 2. Note that the aim of this part is to assess the candidate's ability to participate in at least 2 real-life situations and how appropriately they can communicate in social situations. Familiarize learners with the task. You may wish to use role-play cards to practice dialogues in class. Inform them that the first situation will be initiated by the interlocutor and that they will be asked to initiate the second situation. Remind them they are expected to demonstrate awareness of the tone and register appropriate to the situations. Make them aware that in case there is time left for a third situation, it will be initiated by either the interlocutor or by the candidate, that is, by them. Clarify that they will both be required to produce up to 2 short turns for each situation. Train them in language functions likely to be needed for such tasks. For example, declining an offer, expressing bewilderment, speculating, interrupting politely. Prior to acting out any situation, you may wish to ask them to first remember the language they need. If necessary, share a model response to guide them. Part 3. The aim here is to assess the candidate's ability to give and receive information in order to perform a communicative task. Make learners aware that they are allowed to ask the interlocutor to clarify or explain what a task asks them to do, and they are not penalized for that. Stress that for this part of the exam, they need to produce more language than what has already been provided, and not only repeat the prompts provided on their task sheet. Also, practice language functions recurring in this part of the exam. For example, suggesting, justifying, reaching a compromise, or expressing agreement with reservations. Remind learners to take full advantage of their preparation time, 20 seconds for both levels, so that they have more to say, then present ideas even more successfully and not risk drying up during their response. You may prefer to initially ask them to remember the language they need for this task, for example, how to make suggestions, how to express agreement or disagreement, how to emphasize a point. Tell them they may be asked to express their views on social and contemporary issues and be ready to contribute to the discussion. Inform them that in this part of the exam, they can challenge the interlocutor and can certainly give their own opinion. Clarify that they do not have to use all prompts provided on their task sheet. Make them aware that it is their interaction with the interlocutor which is more important, not the ability to complete the task in the given time, though the interaction should move towards achievement of the task set. Concluding with Part 4, note that the aim of this last part is to assess the candidate's ability to speak at greater length with minimum participation from the interlocutor. Once again, remind learners that they are allowed to ask the interlocutor to clarify or explain what the task asks them to do, and that they are not penalized for that. While practicing, initially ask them to speak about the selected topic for less time than required on the exam day, and then gradually increase its length throughout the term. Train them in presenting ideas as logically as possible, such as by using sequence words. First of all, then, finally. Practice functions that will help them express their opinions or ideas or feelings. For example, I think, It seems to me that I would say I truly feel, as I see it, I strongly believe. Remind them once more to take full advantage of their preparation time, 30 seconds for both levels, so that they are better prepared, know what to say, share their ideas even more effectively, and do not risk drying up halfway through the response. Clarify that the chosen topic will not be one touched on in the previous 3 parts of the exam. Make them aware that it is the last part that gives them the opportunity to really demonstrate their range and fluency. A few more tips now. Ask learners to carefully listen to the interlocutor's prompt so as not to risk providing an irrelevant response. While training, encourage them to respond promptly and avoid dry, one-word answers. Remind them they can manage the responses with fillers, for example, by means of, well, you know, I mean, let me think. That will give them extra time to think and also sound even more fluent on their exam day. Share with them a few turn-taking skills, for example, how to take the turn, how to add extra information, how to gently disagree, so that they can interact with the interlocutor more appropriately, more effectively. Remind them that there are no right or wrong answers and that they will not be judged on their opinions. What counts is the language they will use. Reassure them that in case they cannot remember a certain word, they can always paraphrase it or use a synonym. While practicing, you may wish to divide your class into pairs and train them in asking and responding to similar questions. Lastly, familiarize learners with the mock exam videos on our website so that they know what to expect on their exam day. We hope that these tips will prove useful while you're training your learners. Don't forget to also refer to the support material we have created for you. Thank you.